Do you know why you struggle to stay focused? It's not just all about the bad habits. I'm telling you. It's actually spiritual warfare. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. First things first, distraction isn't harmless. No form of it. Distraction is actually the enemy's tactic. It's one of the enemy's number one abilities that they've been honing for years. Why do you think it's so easy to fall into the entertainment? Why do you think it's so easy to get on the phone and be completely absorbed and distracted? Let's just use this as an example. You're attacking the day, you're completing tasks, you're an animal, and then something comes up in your mind and you're like, I gotta check my phone for this. If you're anything like me at all, you've fallen victim to this. You've hopped on the phone and you completely forgot what you even got on the phone for. And then you just got taken on a complete detour. And then you got off the phone and you wait, wasn't I supposed to be doing something? I completely forgot. That's how powerful distraction is. You can get on the phone and something just entices you, just enough for you to hop into it. And then before you know it, you're into something else. That one video leads to another video. And then you got that voice in your mind whispering, hey, it's just one more video. I mean, what harm could it do? You don't have to get off of here. Just watch one more. All of this is a tactic because if the enemy can keep you distracted for long enough, then you won't even worry about your destiny, your purpose. You won't worry about your mission. You'll forget about all that because you'd rather watch your favorite show. Now, I'm not judging you at all because I used to be the same exact way. My weakness was anime. I would find an anime and get so invested in the story. I sit there for hours upon hours and I look up and 4 hours have gone by, 6 hours have gone by, and I've watched 3 seasons. But the enemy knows exactly what we like because it studies us daily. These phones, that got to the point where they ask you every time you open up a new app, will you allow tracking so we can improve your advertisements, so we can improve your experience on the app? It asks you all nicely, like it's still not gonna track you anyways, even if you say, "Nah, I'm good." The phone is always listening. Have you ever had that experience where you're talking about something and then minutes later, hour later, your phone pops up with the very thing that you were just talking about? I'm gonna go take a trip to New York. That would be amazing. And then same day, you look at your phone and then you're swiping on the social media because unfortunately sometimes we can fall into the doom scroll. And then boom, a New York hotel ad pops up. Get your Airbnb. But this is all part of their plan. They've been practicing for thousands of years of just how to distract us. If we go back a number of years, well before the internet, you go back to the Roman Empire, they had things like the Colosseum with the gladiator. That was just their form of entertainment, their form of keeping the masses of people all into a group of distracted individuals who they just follow along exactly with whatever they decide to tell them. Understand that the longer that we indulge in distraction, the longer that we are susceptible to exactly what the adversary wants us to believe. Have you ever heard the saying, you are what you consume? You are what you eat? There couldn't have been a more true statement. If we rewind back some time, back when I was incredibly depressed, there was a dark cloud over my head at all times. You know what I was doing? I was listening to music, very, very depressing music, talking about all kinds of taking yourself off of the planet, indulging in these, let's call them substances that aren't necessarily the best things to indulge in, if you know what I mean. And that's just another form of distraction. That's just, did you know that Lucifer, his main thing was music? He loved music more than anyone else. He was actually made out of musical instruments. He was one of the most beautiful angels before he was kicked out of heaven. And guess what? He still loves music. It all goes back to what I said earlier. You are what you eat. If you constantly feed yourself a certain kind of message, a certain type of music, all of that is going to influence your mind without you even realizing it. All of that is going to form as part of your identity, just like how it formed as a part of mine. I listened to depressing music. I became a depressed person. You see, the thing is, distraction is almost inescapable. So that's exactly why we have to armor our minds. But as long as the enemy can keep us distracted, then we never have the opportunity to armor our minds. How do we armor our mind? First things first, you could have guessed it. Change exactly what we consume on a daily basis. Pay attention to what you're seeing through your eyes. Pay attention to what you're hearing. Understand that if we are always consuming television programs, if we're always binging Netflix series or whatever kind of show or whatever we're into, understand that we are exposing ourselves to attacks, more attacks than we would have if we just indulged in something a little more productive, something that's actually going to benefit us, something that's actually going to take us to another level, maybe expose us to some new information that we weren't previously aware of. Then that way we can actually make a new change, and it actually helps us armor plate our mind even further. Now the next thing is going to be what you actually do on the daily basis when you're not consuming things. What kind of habits are you indulging in? Do you have that vision of who you want to be, what direction you're headed? Have you broken down that vision into a laundry list of things you have to do on a daily basis? Who do you want to be? What does that person you want to be do? What does their life look like? Do those things, because you will inevitably become that person. If you act like that person, you walk like that person, you talk like that person, you think like that person on a long enough time frame, you reprogram your mind and tell it this is exactly who we are now. Now we got that covered. How else do we armor play our mind? We have to do some kind of physical activity, some kind of exercise, some kind of workout, some kind of training, because we can't have a strong mind if we don't have a strong body. They play hand in hand. If you look at it as the analogy of the horse rider and the horse, the rider is the mind, the horse is the body. You can't get one without the other. So work on your body, and by default, it's going to work on your mind. Push yourself physically. It doesn't have to be for hours upon hours on the day. 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes. Go for a walk, run, lift some weights, push ups, sit ups. It doesn't matter. Do whatever you need to do, whatever you see fit, whatever works for you. That is something that helped transform me into a completely different person. I used to have the mindset that I didn't have to be strong. What do I need to have muscles for? I did all that in high school. I don't have to keep lifting weights. Nah, I don't see any point. But you see, that was the weakness talking. That little voice of weakness in my mind. That voice at the time took over completely, and it had complete, utter influence over me. It had all the power. So it hindered my life and influenced my actions to the point where I never did anything to better myself until I understood, until I exposed myself to new information, until I stopped consuming all of that negative content, all of that terrible music that wasn't doing anything good for me. Now, I'm not shooting down music, just choose wisely, please, for your sake, speaking from experience. Then, lastly, to tie it all together, work on something spiritual, whatever that is for you. For me, I study the Bible every single day. I'm reading it every day. I pray every day. I take the time to speak to my Creator. Now, I'm not telling you what to believe. Just do whatever you see fit, because we all have three-dimensional aspects of ourselves. We have the physical, the mental, and the spiritual aspect. We must work on all three of these. Otherwise, we're always going to be missing something. Now, understand that soon as you decide that you want to be better, as soon as you decide to work on these three-dimensional areas of yourself, the attacks are going to increase. The adversary is going to get up out of that rocking chair. They're going to get out of that comfortable position, and they're going to amp up the attacks, because now you're seen as a threat. You always have been a threat, but since they have you distracted, they don't have to worry about you anymore. But then you start working on yourself, you start popping up on the radar. They start freaking out a little bit, start panicking. We got to stop this person. We can't let them go far enough on this path, because if they go far enough, then they're not going to be stoppable anymore. The attacks aren't going to work. They're going to see right through us. And that's the position that I got to. Although I'm far from finished, I got to the point where I increased my awareness enough to where I can see right through the attacks. I got to the point where I actually let the enemy try to influence me, let the enemy try to play out its plan on me, and then I crack the code. I analyze the plan. I see exactly what their objective is, and then I break the pattern. I break the plan. I disappoint the enemy. I use that to gain strength. I use that to increase my awareness even further. So that way, my antenna to the enemy's attacks is sensitive. Now I'm a threat for real. So all of the attacks keep coming and coming, and all I do is I shift my perspective and I see them as growth opportunities. Growth always disguises itself in the things that we don't want to do. Once we hone our awareness to the point where we start to notice, we start to understand, we start to discern, we start seeing all kinds of growth opportunities show up in all areas of our life. It's not about just the gym. It's not about just getting physically stronger. It's about the relationships. It's about increasing that mental edge, sharpening that blade at the grindstone, tapping into that spiritual power that's within you. Listen, the adversary wants us to forget. It doesn't want us to wake up to what we are actually capable of. That's exactly why they keep us distracted. For as long as we're distracted, then we'll never realize what we have inside of us. The enemy is very deceitful. They'll tell us all kinds of lies, lies that seem just so believable. And for so long, I bought into all the lies, and my life was horrible. I hated it. But then, one at a time, because that's all it takes, just one at a time, I started slicing through the lies. I started peering through at the truth, started to understand some things, start to elevate. But after practicing these things that we're talking about in this video, you're not going to just shift overnight. Sharpening your mind and sharpening your spiritual side is always going to take some time. It's always going to be a process. It's just like training physically. You're never going to go into the gym for 1 day, 10 days, 30 days and see massive results. But you have to understand that if you get to the process, if you indulge, if you stay consistent, if you remain disciplined to the point where it doesn't matter what the results look like right now, you understand that if you stay on this path, you will inevitably end up at the results that you seek. This is exactly why we walk around and we see people who are in peak physical condition. There's no mystery as to how they got there. We know how they got there. It took the hard work, the consistency, the resilience, the persistence, the discipline, the tenacity, the will, the faith. You must have the unrelenting drive to become that best version of yourself. Apply those same principles that you understand about the physicality to your mentality, to your spirituality, because it works exactly the same. I told you, they're all interconnected. You can't have one without the other. If you're weak in one area, you might as well be weak in all of the areas. Don't ever forget that this is all war. And one of the biggest lies the enemy has ever told is the fact that you aren't in a war, that you're not constantly under attack. For the longest amount of time, I never realized that I was under attack. And that's exactly why I was in that abyss I talked about in the last video. So if you're done living like you're not in a war and you're ready to shift, you're ready to transform into somebody completely different to the point where you are unrecognizable. You look in the mirror and you don't see that old person that used to hold you back. Hit that subscribe and let's take this journey together because I'm not finished. And I hope you're far from finished too. So guess what? I'll see you in the next video. Let's change some lives, starting with ours.